be big. Remember, I was competing between 206 and 212 my entire career. While some people said I never really changed that much, I always felt that I didn't want to change because I was training for a look that pleased me. I trained for something that made me happy. I wasn't trying to please the judges. And I wasn't trying to beat Flex Wheeler or Dorian Yates at their game. I knew I was short. I knew I was small. So me 10 pounds heavier doesn't mean I would have been a better Shawn Ray. I got to a point where I liked what I saw in the mirror. I felt comfortable in my own skin and in my own clothes, and I stayed true to that. In hindsight, people respect that. At the time I was doing it, a lot of the competitors used that against me, trying to influence the judges. Well, Shawn Ray doesn't change. Well, Shawn Ray looks the same. Well, he didn't add 5 pounds of muscle. He didn't get bigger. I'll tell you what, Dorian, who's a friend of mine, changed year to year. But personally, I felt he got worse year to year. He peaked in 93, from my opinion, and every year thereafter got progressively, his progress diminished with the size. Ronnie Coleman, the same thing can be said for Ronnie Coleman. In 98, when he won his first Olympia, phenomenal, minus the gyno that he had. And then he got bigger and bigger and freakier and freakier and scarier. And it became something that, for me as a bodybuilding artist, lost its beauty and lost its shape and it lost its quality. So quality is something that's not used in bodybuilding today. Beauty, aesthetics, symmetrical, classical, those are the things that were being thrown around when I was coming up as a bodybuilder. You very rarely hear those adjectives today's economy. Jay Cutler will never hear that. Kai Green is on the verge of not hearing that. Phil Heath might get certain compliments because arguably, for me, he's one of the best bodybuilders on the market today. But when I was coming up, we heard it all the time and we saw it a lot, and now it's pretty much gone. So I'm not really down with the big guys, but being shredded comes from, I think, training closer to your competition body weight. Here's another question. Let's see. Bear with me. I'm competing this year. Okay, that one, I already read that one. Did you ever entertain the idea of competing once I retired? Of course I did. You know, I was a competitor. That's what I like. I entertained competing probably once or twice a year in my mind. The further you get away from championship training, the harder it is to get back. And I knew when I walked away from the bodybuilding stage in 2001 that I probably would never go back again because my cup ran over. There was nothing else for me to accomplish. At that time, I realized winning the Olympia was not going to be a part of my reality. And I was good with that. I mean, Ronnie Coleman had already won 3. And when I retired, he went on to win 5 more. So even if I had stayed, I would have had to battle the fact that I'm 212 going up against a guy damn near 300 pounds. And the judges' opinions don't change. And it was solidified and crystal clear in my head in 2001 that, yeah, I can go to the Arnold Classic, I can go to other bodybuilding shows and avoid Ronnie Coleman and the likes. Jay Cutler was coming on very strong at the time. But was I competing for money? Or was I competing to be Mr. Olympia? I stayed true to why I got in bodybuilding, and that was to be the best in the world. When that door closed and that window of opportunity diminished, I turned a new page and went into the next chapter of life because I knew there was something waiting around the bend. I didn't want to be 40 years old one day trying to figure out what I wanted to be in life. So I got a head start. And I started getting into promoting. I started getting into more commentating. I got more involved with marketing other athletes coming up behind me, representing other companies. And this is what I like doing, marketing and promoting. That's where I'm at. It's almost like a football player who can no longer play the game, gets into broadcasting or coaching. It keeps them very close to the action, but they're not getting beat up. They're not on the field taking those hits. I stepped back. I enjoyed working out for about a year, and then I started getting into other aspects of adulthood. Became a husband and a father, and those things are challenging, and to be the best at either of those takes a lot of work as well. So my priorities changed, my maturity levels changed, and if I were to be called back to compete again today, I would politely decline because it's not what it was when I was there. Not only the atmosphere, but the judging criteria and the science behind getting on a bodybuilding stage is not something that I'm physically ready to endure again because it's not there. I've been civilized. All right. What do I consider the best post-workout shake? There's a lot of them because I get all of mine for free. When you get supplements and protein powders for free, it's very hard to endorse one. So I respectfully would like to say one that's quality, one that's got in it what you're looking for. I worked with a company called Generate for several years, and they had a post-drink called Vitargo, and that's probably the best thing that you can get carbohydrate-wise into your system right after training. So that was, for me, one of the better, more productive post-protein drink or post-carbohydrate drinks that you could have on the market. But again, I'm one of those firm believers that food is the #1 priority, so I make sure that food wasn't far away after a killer workout, and good quality carbs from pasta, from rice, and from potatoes. That's the type of stuff. If I had $20 in my pocket and I could choose a post-workout drink or a steak and potatoes, I'm taking the steak and potatoes, and I'll probably have change left over. All right. Let me see. Typically, you do 2 body parts a day, 4 days a week. My question is, when arm muscles are stubborn, is isolating training a good idea? Of course, isolation training is the obvious choice. I mean, if I've got a stubborn body part, I don't want to compound that by joining a bunch of other body parts on top of it. So if my arms are weak, I need an arm day. So if it's my biceps that are weak or my left arm that's weaker than my right arm, I always start with the weakest aspect and I work my way to my strength. So my legs were always my strong point, and I always wanted to have big shoulders, and I always wanted to have a broad back. So early in the week, I start off with shoulders and back. And then when it came back around, I would do back and shoulders early in the week. By the time the weekend's coming, then I'm doing my strength, which is my legs. Always start with your weakness first. More is not better. Training harder is better. Pay attention to training harder, because just because you think you're training hard doesn't necessarily mean you're training the hardest that you can. Challenge yourself. Train with bigger guys. Train with more experienced people. Don't be afraid to ask for a spot. If your workouts aren't challenging, it's going to be very hard to get to the next level. So the tools are the same. When you pick up a barbell or a dumbbell, you're doing the same thing that Arnold Schwarzenegger was doing. It's the same thing that Robbie Robinson was doing. The same thing that Kevin Levrone. The exercises are all pretty much the same. The weights and the tools are all available to us. It's how you do it. If I pick up a basketball, I'm no different than Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant. But the level of interest in how I play the game, how hard I devote myself to the game, is where me, Michael Jordan, and Kobe Bryant are going to differentiate. So when you pick up that barbell, are you Arnold Schwarzenegger? Are you going back in time? Are you Lee Haney when you're training your back? Are you Robbie Robinson doing biceps? Because if you're not, you're never going to get there. Those guys were training to be the best in the world, and that's the mentality of a bodybuilder who wants it all. You can't just go sling weight around. Anybody can lift weights, and anybody can be big. I understood that at a very young age, that anybody can lift weights, anybody can throw some calories in, anybody can get big. It's a lot of discipline to get better. So quality over quantity rules the day in my book. And if you're not dead and taxed at the end of your workout, I'll tell you, there's some bodybuilders out there that really want it, and they'll step right over you. So take your mental game higher when you go in there to approach the weights, because that's what's going to help you get to the next level. All right, not putting on another 5 pounds or 10 pounds and just moving it with bad form, because the workout doesn't stop in the gym. Now that I've trained hard in the gym and I busted my ass, I got to go home and I got to feed the machine. Now I've got to rest, and I got to get up and do it all over again. You know why? Because I knew back when I was training that Kevin Levrone was in Maryland 3 hours ahead of me. He was up. He had a head start on me. I knew Rich Gaspari was training in the snow of New Jersey. I knew Lee Haney was training out there in Atlanta where it's hot as hell. So I would visualize myself competing against these guys even though they weren't in my backyard. And I knew I had to take my game mentally, physically, to the next level. Even knowing I wasn't the strongest or going to be the biggest. I had to train harder. That's where you need to go with that. Okay. With regard to overall bodybuilding, straight left. Okay, I already answered that one. Sorry, guys. Let me scroll down. I'm missing. What would you say to young lifters who consider using pro hormones, which are legal supplements? Anything that's legal is worth a try. I mean, I'm not a doctor. Again, I don't know that teenagers need to be messing around with anything, because I personally didn't, and I won the Teen California and the Teenage Mr. America natural. So it comes down to what you're available to. But I wouldn't take anything I didn't know. I need to be learned. I need to educate what I'm taking because A, it's money, and B, it's my body, and C, if I mess around with my money or my body, I can wind up, on a machine. I can wind up on the floor. You got to know what you're taking and why, and then move forward from there. But pro hormones that are legal supplements, they're legal for a reason. So they're not supposedly harmful. And remember, a little bit may be good. A lot of people think more is better, but that's not always the case with supplements, okay? So supplements are just that. They're trying to emulate and copy what food does. So get your primary sources from your food and supplement your diet. All right, what's the best exercise, in my opinion, that builds the outer quad sweep? I don't know. I never trained for outer quad sweep. And you got to remember, guys, your body, genetics, is made up before you even get there. The DNA is there. So somebody like a Robbie Robinson that's got a great bicep peak, it wasn't necessarily developed because he chose certain exercises. He was at a genetic predisposition to develop a certain type of an arm, the same way that Boyer Coe developed a certain split in his arm, the same way that Arnold Schwarzenegger built a certain look to his biceps. He didn't have the same balance on his triceps, but he was predisposed to having these great big biceps like Larry Scott. So if trying to get bigger quads is the goal, you obviously would want the teardrop to be big and the sweeps to be big. Use the exercises available. The muscle will go where it's going to go. You can't spot train. I cannot spot train to add 2 or 3 inches to my biceps just by doing preacher curls. I still have to do the barbell curls and the dumbbell curls. So when it comes to legs, you still got to do squats, half squats, leg extensions, leg presses, even lunges. So in some form or fashion, it's going to hit the entire quad. You can't just spot train your quadriceps. It says, when I look back at my amazing career, by far one of the top 5 bodybuilders of all time, would you do it again or would I have switched careers? I'll tell you, I came up in an era of bodybuilding, the likes that we're never going to see again. So no. I thought I was going to be a professional football player, but that reality was gone when I started seeing the times of the guys were running and how fast they were and the size. I was coming up in the 80s when Eric Dickerson was 6'3". You had these guys that were coming in that were just monsters, tall guys and big at the same and fast. So for me to choose bodybuilding on the heels of watching Chris Dickerson win the Olympia in 82, Samir Banu winning it in 83, Muhammad McAway getting second in 1984, these guys were all shorter than me. I thought, these are the best in the world. I can be one of those people. I firmly believed it. So ultimately, through hard work and dedication, it became my reality because I believed it at such a young age. I was in high school. If there was another career I would have gone into, I was challenged with football, but I was structurally, genetically not built to play the game, even though I got inducted into my high school Hall of Fame as a football player. I had a very good pedigree to go to college, but the odds of me going pro, I think, were working against me. So I chose the sport that was best for me because it was my passion, and I wasn't doing it for the money, but I was always doing it to be the best in the world. And from that, my dream became a reality. All right. What is the best exercise, in my opinion, that builds the outer? I think I answered that one. The best exercise to build up the abdominals. Again, abdominals, like any other muscle, are there just beneath the fat and the skin. I would do my abs 2, sometimes 3 times a week. 3 exercises, 30 repetitions each. It wasn't a marathon. I didn't need to do 1,000 sit-ups to build a washboard abs. My abs would come in just simply from doing cardio and dieting. We all have them. The fat, once we shred the fat off and get rid of that thin layer of water, you can see the abdominals. I just toned them. It was maintenance for me. So I toned my abs by doing 3 exercises, 3 sets, 30 repetitions. And as I got my cardiovascular in shape and I dropped my carbohydrates and I dropped my body fat, the abs came in. And my abdominal wall was what it was. I did nothing special for it. So adhere to that. More is not always better. All right. This is just one question of mine that I've always wondered. When you look back at the career, I think I already answered that. I'm behind you guys. Let me catch up. Okay. Got to slide this down. Okay, I got the ab part. Do you think when the WBF guys were back in the day, the IFBB judges were harsher? No, I mean, remember, I got on an airplane excuse me, and I flew to Connecticut, where Vince McMahon formulated the World Wrestling Federation back in 1990. 1990, I just failed the first drug test ever at the Arnold Classic Championships, 1 week after winning my first pro show, which was the Pro Ironman contest. I was approached from Tom Platz, who was running the WBF Federation, and presented with a plane ticket to come and meet with Vince McMahon. At the time, I was making from Joe Weider $40,000 a year, which to me was a lot of money. It was a little more than $3,000 a month. I was living in Venice Beach. I had a nice, fast car. I had my little apartment in the marina. And Tom Platz put me on a plane, and I headed to meet with the head honcho, Vince McMahon. First class, no doubt. And when I got the tour of the warehouse and the empire that was the World Wrestling Federation, I was sitting in the chair waiting for him to walk around the corner, and he was a very imposing figure, the same way that Joe Weider was. Very powerful, very rich, and very accomplished, and very confident. So I was approached with a contract of $225,000 for the first year, a contract for $250,000 the second year. And those were numbers I couldn't even put my arms around as a bodybuilder. I just bought a home. I just failed a drug test, which cost me $60,000. And here this guy was offering me enough money to pay my house off the first year and set me up to start a business the second year. The problem I had when I left there was my training partner was Troy Zucolato, and he had just won the 1989 NPC National Championships, and we were training partners. He also made the trip, and when he came back, he told me that he was offered $250,000 for 1 year and $275,000 the second year. My problem with that was that Troy had never competed as a pro bodybuilder yet, and I was already there. You know, I was accomplished. I was a professional, and I thought he was offering me more money, or he was offering Troy more money, me less money, and it was not something that really suited me because I just come out with my first cassette, VHS, Lifestyles of the Fit and Famous, and they wanted all the rights to every picture, every video, every appearance, and we could do nothing outside of that $225,000. But if they got us a movie, made a poster, made a video, made a t-shirt, they can market us the same way they did the wrestlers. But they owned everything, and I owned nothing. If someone wanted me for a seminar, I would have to send that information to the WBF, and they would book it, and I'd be working on behalf of them. So I was limited. I saw a cap being put on how much money I could make in a year, and I'd never made $225,000 at that point in my career. But I also realized I would never be Mr. Olympia. But by realizing that I started bodybuilding to be Mr. Olympia, and that dream was going to be taken away for a dollar bill, I told them no. I couldn't do it. And Troy signed, took the money, he bought himself a nice house. He was married, had 2 kids, and did very well with that when his career was done. The WBF stuck around for 2 years, and they were gone. Not a whole lot of good things were said, but competition is good. Joe Weider reached deeper in his pockets. Everybody got a little bit more money that stayed with him. However, it was nothing close to what we were being offered. But I went from 13th place in 1988, Mr. Olympia, to 3rd place in 1990. And by getting 3rd place and being recognized as top 3 bodybuilder in the world in the Olympia, I couldn't put a dollar amount on that. So I was very comfortable with the decision that I made. Not to mention, the IFBB was an international federation that was global. And I was seeing the world and motivating people that I wouldn't have been able to do within the confines of the WBF. Did some of the guys that went over there get a raw deal? Yes. Aaron Baker, I think, when he came back to the IFBB, he got a raw deal. A lot of the judges felt like the guys that went over were traitors. Gary Stridham and Dave Dirth and Jimmy Quinn and Mike Quinn. These guys were, Tony Pearson, were looked down upon because they went to the enemy to make money, which is all of us wanted to do as bodybuilders. But that competition was good for us. It made the IFBB better. It made the WBF, have to try to really work harder. And for me, I think it created a very good niche that moving into 3rd place and then going back in 91 and winning the Arnold Classic and keeping the prize money, it made me realize that, to me, I was a true bodybuilder wanting to be Mr. Olympia, and I couldn't be bought. So I'm glad I stuck to my guns. All right, let me slide down because the questions are still coming. We got about 10 minutes, actually 9 minutes to go before this is done. Do I think products such as Ossiberry, Pomegranate, Udo's oil fat losers actually work in losing fat. As I feel I can't lose fat in my midsection, I want to help take it to the next level to ensure that plateau. I don't take things to burn fat. I change my diet and I increase my cardio to burn the fat. Things that you take are placebo effects. Pomegranate juice has calories in it. Aussie berry, there's calories that I'm taking in when in effect I want to take those calories out. So by doing so, again, reduce your carbohydrate where all the calories are to lower. Increase your broccoli, your asparagus, your peas, your green beans, your salads. Change the salad dressing from blue cheese and all that other stuff to oil and vinegar. And increase your protein. But more importantly, start doing some form of cardiovascular. Over the long run, you're going to win because you're going to spend less and you're going to get better results. And you're not going to be able to attribute that to some drink or oil. This is work. Losing fat is work. Building muscle is work. There's no two ways around it. So I advise you to take that advice. Big Mike Cox, booty man, I like Mike. Do you think some of Kai's past posing photos and activities will prevent him from becoming Mr. O? I think in this sport, everyone has a past. Excuse me. Kai Green's physique speaks for itself. And at the time Kai Green was doing the things he was doing to make a buck, I mean, he came from a background of an exotic dancer to doing some very exotic things. Those type of things hurt your self-image. But I've always believed that bodybuilding is a sport of appearance, not a personality contest. He could be a member of the Fortune 500. Would his money and success preclude him from being the world's best? I'm sure there'd be some judges that envy somebody that comes from that kind of money. What is he doing here, taking money away from these hard bodybuilders that have nothing, and you got this multimillionaire on stage competing? Listen, Kai Green should be judged on his physique. I've seen worse things from females that feel like they need to supplement their income doing web stuff and schmo wrestling and all that other stuff, but we don't judge them as harshly. I was dating a girl that was a professional bodybuilder back in '88 by the name of Erica Mess out of the Netherlands. At that time, she did a Playboy spread in a Dutch Playboy magazine, and she was suspended. She was Barry DeMay's mixed pairs partner. She was suspended from the federation because it was obscene, and it was, I think it was, they called it lewd and behavior unbecoming. And that was back at a time where they weren't ready for it. And now you've got girls doing, gosh, everything, and they're professional bodybuilders, and they're getting rewarded, and they're getting financially compensated. So I'm not 100% sure that we should judge Kai based on what he did when he had nothing. Let's judge Kai on what he's doing now. And what he's doing now is nothing short of amazing. I saw this guy come from the gutter. He's like the Mike Tyson of bodybuilding. He came from a boys' home, broken family, not a dime in his pocket. He was about to quit bodybuilding when he did the Shawn Ray Pro Classic in 2006. I made sure the top 10 guys got paid, and I had a $10,000 award. Thank God that Kai knew how to pose. After the contest, he broke down and cried on my shoulder, and he said, "I'm glad that you had this Best Poser award because I have $7 in my pocket, and going home to New York, I wouldn't know what I was going to do with the rest of my life." That stayed with me because a guy like that probably would have had to go back out and do some compromising stuff to make his way through being a male exotic dancer. Bodybuilding pulled him away from that. Thank God for bodybuilding for Kai Green, because there's other people out there. Mike Christian, a 1984 national champion and a Hall of Fame bodybuilder, was a drug addict before he found bodybuilding. He was out there. He was gone, and bodybuilding saved his life. I believe that bodybuilding saved Kai Green's life. I calculated a year ago in prize money that Kai Green made almost $400,000 in prize money. That would have never happened if bodybuilding didn't give him a platform to work on his craft, which was his body. His body got him as a male exotic dancer, but bodybuilding created a life for this guy. So I'm not going to judge him on his past. We all have mistakes, and there's all kind of things that we might regret. But right now, he's a world-class bodybuilder on the verge of becoming Mr. Olympia. He's won 2 Arnold Classics. He's won 2 New York Pro shows. He's won the Colorado Pro Championships. and he came from the gutter. Kudos to Kai Green. All right, with 3 minutes left to go, guys, I'm going to have to cut this short and preview what's coming up on our next webinar. This is all free, like I said, and again, we're going to get more specific. We're going to have webinars that are specific and germane to, we're going to talk straight up arms. We're going to talk straight up supplements. We're going to talk straight up competition or posing or tanning. We're going to get very specific as we go along, but we've got an all-star cast following me. Of course, I mentioned we have Dorian Yates and Kevin Levrone and Flex Wheeler. You're going to hear from some guys on the verge, on their way up. Troy Alves, Dennis James. You're going to get some contest reports. You're going to get some very good content here. You've come to the right place at Body Coaches because this concept is something that's a first of its kind. Of course, we're going to have some glitches. Of course, we're going to have some problems. But as we roll along and the year continues and we have more of these webinars, you guys are going to be privy to some information you can't get out of a magazine. You won't get in an email. And you certainly can't grasp on a seminar that's 300-400 people. This is going to be something where we're going to be able to talk to a capacity of 10,000 people around the world. And to say that and think that someone's over in England and Japan and South Africa, this Body Coaches has made the world a much smaller, more intimate place, and I'm glad to be a part of it. Coming up next, though, we're going to have Tony Freeman, the X-Man. He's now getting ready to compete in the Mr. Olympia competition. He's going to go and compete over in Spain. I've got him a guest posing appearance at the Irish Championships, October the 22nd, I believe. He'll be coming to Ireland as a guest poser for promoter and president Mike Bullman. I have the advantage of having a lot more information than others because I go to all the shows and I'm friends with these bodybuilders. Real quick, Dorian regarded me as a mind player. He said I irritated him back then. What exactly did I do? There's a lot of stuff I did to Dorian. He was one of the best bodybuilders of his day. I never complimented him, and I think that really did hurt him as a bodybuilder coming up. He wanted respect. His physique commanded it. I never gave it to him, not while I was competing, but I've told him in so many words. He motivated me, and if it wasn't for Dorian Yates, I couldn't have taken my game to the next level. The same can be said for Flex Wheeler. But when you don't compliment somebody that's doing the business, that's the biggest insult that you can give a guy. I never talked about how great his back was or how hard and grainy his skin got, how phenomenal his calves were, how wide and impressive his back was. I only talked about the things that he needed to work on, which is his waist, his torn bicep, his torn tricep, lack of marketability, that him going home to England didn't promote the sport. So all those things got under his skin. That was my job. So we put that behind us. We're both now friends and promoting the business. Really quick, I need to get the winner of this Las Vegas trip because I know they told me to announce who is winning this contest to go to Las Vegas, hang out with me, and I am waiting now for our administrator to put the name up so I can say who our winner is. So we have come to the end of the hour. I'm waiting on our Body Coaches to reveal who that winner is. And I'm just looking at the screen. This winner is going to have the opportunity to come to Vegas, hang out. We'll take some photographs. If I have the time, we may even visit a gym. And, of course, we'll give him the Shawn Ray collection. I've got some DVDs and pictures and a bobblehead. I'm just waiting for something to come up here from Body Coaches. Hang on a second. Yeah, I think this is great stuff, too. This is awesome. Where you at, Body Coaches? Give me a sign. Okay, Tony hasn't qualified for the Olympia. I think he's planning on qualifying. He'll figure that out when he comes on. Let me see. Pick you, please. Big Mike wants me to pick him. Let me see. Where's Body Coach? See where? Oh, okay. It says, I see. I got a message from Body Coaches. It says yes, they will be emailed. Wait a minute. Is that it? Let me see. Where we at, guys? I'm scrolling down. The winner will be emailed tomorrow. Okay, so I am not announcing who the winner of it is. There's going to be an email sent out and an announcement from Body Coaches that tells us who the winner is. Gabriella says I should have never been nervous. I'm sitting here in a room by myself. I mean, talking to all you guys. I'm good. I'm not nervous anymore. But let me wrap this up, guys. I think this is an awesome thing. Please support what Andrew and company is doing. Go on Facebook. Talk about it. Go on the bodybuilding site. Share the word. Let's build a community here because this is something I'm eagerly looking to be a part of. I'm going to be coming to England for the Body Power next year on behalf of Body Coaches. I'm supporting this cause. This to me is probably the single most important thing that I've been involved in bodybuilding since I've gotten involved, because it's a global marketing tool that benefits not only myself but you guys. And I can't think of another way of giving back to the sport of bodybuilding than this here. Reading your remarks, seeing what you guys are saying. I'm going to look at it when we log off because we're running out of time. And having Andrew and his company out there and the guys he's working with bring this together, I can only see this thing getting bigger. When this thing comes to HD TV and I can sit in my movie room and watch it on the big screen and we can go back and forth, this is going to be awesome. Pretty soon we're going to be watching this on our handheld phones too. So you guys spread the word. Thanks for tuning in. I look forward to catching up with you. I'll be online watching Tony Freeman and sharing with those guys because I'm just as big a fan of bodybuilding as all of you guys are. Support us. Troy Alves, Flex, Kevin, this is awesome. Bodycoaches rocks. And again, this is not just a bodybuilding site. This is going to be a place where I think you're going to build relationships and friends. And the most important aspect of this is you're going to walk away with some wisdom and knowledge. And also, hopefully, if I've done nothing else, I hopefully have motivated you guys a little bit more to push a little bit harder and be a little bit better. All right? For Bodycoaches, I'm Shawn Ray. I'll catch you guys in the gym. Take care.